Echo 5, do you copy? Echo 5.
Echo 2, good morning. Nice of you to drop by.
Feeling alright, sir? Thought we lost you.
Right now, I feel like I can take on this whole podcast myself.
I know what you mean. Ready to send that transmission to Echo Base?
Yes, sir. R10, patch through.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Hoth Transmissions. Tonight we are going to discuss our rankings of all Star Wars content. Just remember guys, these are just our opinion, but we're hoping you guys can have fun. It's all subjective, so don't hate us if we have different views than you. But we love Star Wars and we're grateful for everything that's out there. We may show some hate, but we still appreciate a lot of it. We are aware that not everything is going to be amazing and that there will be some hit and misses. But let's jump into it.
Yep. Something I want to say about the ratings real quick. We're going to do the rankings of Star Wars content, something we've both been really looking forward to. I have conversations.
Yeah, we're doing it by percentages, by the way.
Yeah. I was going to say, I have conversations with friends all the time where I rank certain Star Wars content. And we chose, I think it'd be kind of fun, just do it by, instead of tier list or instead of any other way, we're going to do it by ratings, a percentage. So I think that'll be kind of fun.
Yeah, I agree. So we're gonna start with our least. Well, I'll start with my least, and then I'll say my ranking on it, and then he'll give his ranking. We'll kind of like discuss a little bit why. So the bottom of my list would. Sorry for you guys that really like this film, but The Last Jedi, I gave it a 50%. And that's my only reason for it. Like the reasons why I do like it is I love a lot of the visuals. Like Rian Johnson is just fantastic with a lot of his shots and just the way he stages everything. But I want to say because you watch Force Awakens and then you jump into The Last Jedi, a lot of my complaints are it just doesn't seem consistent. It's literally like a minute maybe after the end of The Force Awakens,
right?
Where Rey is handing the lightsaber to Luke.
And
Skywalker, like the whole Skywalker, Starkiller base gets blown up, and then the movie ends. Now we see that the First Order is basically pushed the Resistance into a retreat after they attacked their base at their homeworld. And I'm just like, how the heck did they all do all that in a minute?
Right.
And to me, that's what was frustrating for me.
Yeah, and that's
it just didn't seem consistent.
That's something we've never seen in a Star Wars trilogy before. Every single trilogy, there's always years between each movie, right?
Yeah.
And so that was a little jarring to have it be the moment after. That doesn't, just a little off. And something that I think they wanted. They obviously in the sequels they wanted to mirror the original trilogy. And just like in the original trilogy, there was a different director for each film, right? And so for the sequels, I think they wanted to do that. They wanted to do a different director for each film. But in the originals, you had the overarching guidance of George Lucas, right? This is his world, his vision, and everything. And so, even though there was a new director, you saw George Lucas in there every day, telling the director what should and what should not happen, where the story should go.
Right.
And that was just one of the faults of the sequels, was that they shunned George Lucas from writing and directing and producing, and kicked him out of the picture, right?
Yeah.
But for this film specifically, you know what? The middle of this film drags for me. It slows. This is kind of a term that I hear a lot. It slows to a crawl. The movie's crawling. Like the middle, 45 minutes of this movie, when they go to Canto Bight and what's her name? Admiral Holdo is, for some odd reason, just slapping Poe Dameron around, like who knows why, right?
We know why.
Okay, yeah, but the pace is just so slow, and it's like all that is so uninteresting, right? The start is kind of interesting, the ending is interesting enough, but the middle portion of the film for me is just it's boring. it's really boring.
Yeah, I agree.
That's one of my problems. I mean, and then the big problem that everybody has, and I'm no different. I don't know, maybe you disagree, but they murdered Luke Skywalker. They kind of ruined Luke's character.
That's
Mar-
another thing. I mean, I get a lot of, I understand a lot of people's positioning of why they liked that character, but for me, it just no.
No. I mean, and go. Everybody, if anybody's disagrees with this point, go on YouTube. And there's hour compilations of Mark Hamill and interviews and stuff alluding to this before it happens and then after the movie drops. Luke Skywalker is his character, and he completely disagrees with the way that they went with it. Right?
Yeah.
He thinks that it's basically the opposite. Well, this is what they were trying to do. They were trying to go the opposite of what Luke Skywalker is to try to, what's the term they use? Divert expectations or something like that.
Yeah.
Right, but it just doesn't work. It just does not work in the Star Wars saga, right?
Totally, I get it, and that's kind of my hit and miss on that. Like, I enjoyed it as a visual; it's very visually pleasing. But as far as story, it just seems so inconsistent with the whole trilogy.
Yeah, and sorry, what was your percentage on this, real quick? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Give it 50%.
I give it a 52. So look at that. Look how
You
close
give
we
it
are.
52%.
52%. Yeah.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
Yep. That's funny.
All right, so my next one would be The Rise of Skywalker.
Okay. What's your percentage for that
And
one?
I give that a 60%.
Okay. This is kind of a random percentage, but it's going to be the 30% range for Rise of Skywalker for me. For me, Rise of Skywalker is by far the goofiest, silliest movie, silliest Star Wars content I've ever seen.
Okay, what's your reasoning?
Yeah, and again, hey, we're sounding really negative right now, but we're getting this out of the way, right? So I think these are the only two movies where we're going to be completely negative about, right?
Yeah.
So, if you guys like the sequels, just hold on because I got a movie from the sequels that's going to be maybe surprising. It's going to be higher up on the list than you might think. But yeah, these two movies to me are just really bad. It's going to be negative, but we're going to get through it. And I don't even like hating on Star Wars this much. Like, it's not fun for me, right?
I really wanted to like these ones, but
exactly.
But it
Exactly.
goes with my comment. It just seems so inconsistent. It didn't seem like they were planning anything.
Right.
Like, the dialogue was off. Like, if anything, visually pleasing.
Right. Yeah, like, I don't like doing this, but yeah, no, Rise of Skywalker for me was at 36%. I'll just say some comments about it. The only way I can describe this movie, it's silly, it's goofy. The only way I can comprehend the way that they wrote this movie was the producers and the directors. They go up to a 6-year-old boy, right? This is prepared, by the way. I've been thinking about this. I told my brother about this. They go up to a 6-year-old kid, and they say, "What do you want to see in a Star Wars movie?" Right? And he's like,
Yeah.
He's like, I want to. You know what? Let's see Rey shoot spaceships out of the sky with Force lightning. And then the grown-ups in the room are like, no, she's a Jedi. She can't do that. She's a Jedi, right? She can't just shoot spaceships with Force lightning, right? And then, but we're like, okay, whatever. You're 6 years old. Go ahead. What else do you want to see in the movie? And then he's like, I want to see the Emperor back. Let's bring Emperor Palpatine back. And it's like, no, we don't really approve of that. We don't want to see that.
Yeah.
But he's 6 years old. Let him have it. Let's bring Palpatine back. Whatever. And then he says,
somehow he returned.
Oh my gosh! And the way they explained it too, isn't that funny? And then they say, and then he says, let's have Palpatine bring, Star Destroyers out of the ground, and each of them has the power of the Death Star. They can all destroy a planet, right? And then the grown-ups
Yeah,
are
that's
like,
pretty goofy.
the grown-ups are like, okay, so he brings a few spaceships out of the ground, no problem, fine, we'll put it in the movie. And then the 6-year-old says, no, 10,000. By the way, this is confirmed. I look at it. A lot of this is from an article because I haven't seen this movie that many times, but apparently it's confirmed.
We know you watched it. You paused it and counted every single one you saw on screen.
Actually, no. By the way, I'll shout out the website I got this from. It's called The Wrap. It's an article on. I just look up the Last Jedi. It's called The Wrap on Google.
Okay.
But yeah, no. Apparently, it's confirmed that he brings about around out of the ground 10,000 Star Destroyers with his hands. Wow. That's very impressive, right?
I didn't know he listed those. I thought he just commanded them. I thought they
Commanded
were all
them.
controlled by themselves.
Either way, even if they are confirmed by themselves, 10,000 ships coming out of the ground. Does that not sound a little silly and goofy to you?
I mean, yeah. I mean, he did have what 20 years, 30 years to build this army, and
Okay.
he's probably working on it before.
Okay. All right.
Like, I totally agree. Like with a lot of the goofiness on it, but I mean, Palpatine returned in the comics, so to me that wasn't like a big issue for me.
Mm-hmm.
Although I did want to see like a new villain. I wanted to see Kylo and his as Supreme Leader Kylo. I don't want him to. I honestly didn't want Kylo to turn back. I was disappointed that he came back because Ben Skywalker's pretty dope. But yeah,
Right.
and I would have much preferred if they didn't have the 10,000 planet destroying Star Destroyers, and if they pulled from the books with Kip Duran and the Sun Crusher. I think that would have been cool if they took that concept out, where it blows up suns and wipes out solar system. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
And then as far as Palpatine returning, it would be cool to see him return and have a bunch of acolytes. Like instead of the Knights of Ren come out, I completely underused by them, but I mean they're completely ignored in the Last Jedi, so might as well just ignore them here too. But have a bunch of Sith acolytes with lightsabers that fight Rey and Ben before Palpatine gets his hands dirty.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been better.
Okay. I mean, look. First of all, I do think the fact that Palpatine's back is goofy, but you're right. I think it has been in it's been in content leading up to this, comics and books and whatnot.
Yeah, so for me that wasn't like a big far-fetched thing. I was like, okay, they're utilizing the expanded universe, cool. But how they executed it, lame.
Now, I will say, even if you just let's even just take that out. There's so much more goofy stuff that happens. I'm looking at, again, this is all from this article from The Wrap, right? Because I think I've seen this movie twice. It's because I saw it once in theaters, I saw it once when it came out on streaming, and so this point is from The Wrap, right? And this goes back to the goofy and silliness of this movie. I literally do not have any recollection of this, but maybe you do. It says that Luke, as a Force ghost, Luke Skywalker, uses the Force to lift the X-wing out of the ocean as a Force ghost.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Does that happen in the movie?
That does, yes.
That is just stupid. I'm just gonna be blunt and I'm gonna be honest. That is stupid. Okay, that is silly and goofy, right?
I mean, he's a Force ghost. He's one with the Force.
Oh man, I've
more goofy than Yoda calling lightning down.
More what?
More goofy than Yoda calling lightning down.
Well, now that's in Last Jedi, right? That I have it at 50%. So I'm not too hot on that either, right?
Well, I mean, it makes more sense because like you look at A New Hope and Obi-Wan's like, okay, you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
Right.
Well, here's the more than you can imagine part.
Right, but I don't like the Force Ghost doing physical stuff. That just doesn't really fly with me.
I'm kind of on the same on the on the same page with you on that one because I'm a huge Stargate fan, and I think they should have a similar code because like when a character on that show ascends to a energy style form, it's just kind of similar to like a Force Ghost.
Yeah,
they're like all powerful and they can interact with the main physical world, but because they are so powerful, they have a code where they can't interfere.
right.
But I mean, at this point, I don't really think they're really interfering by lifting an X-wing out. But I mean,
well,
I think it should have been a Rey thing, picking it up, kind of mimicking the Empire Strikes Back.
Here's the thing. I would argue that it is interfering. I think it's really done in a beautiful way in the original trilogy, where the Force Ghosts, they're a part of the Force, right? They're part of the Force, right?
They're passing on their knowledge.
Yeah, and then they're not affecting physical things, right? They're talking to people, Force users in the real world, but they're not doing physical stuff. Here's the thing: if as a Force Ghost, you can strike lightning down from the sky, if you can pick up spaceships and all this kind of stuff, might as well just be dead. Might as well be a Force Ghost. Because here's the thing: just go face Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren can't attack you, but you can attack him with lightning and all kinds of stuff.
Well,
but he can't.
I think that's like the ultimate goal for the Jedi is to become Force Ghost. That
Okay.
I mean, that used to be like one of the things that they're searching for. That's like you read in Master Apprentice. That's kind of what Qui-Gon was kind of trying to figure out. There's a lot of knowledge that just got lost in the arrogance of the Jedi over 1,000 years.
Hmm.
And like even in Master and Apprentice, you see he's like, oh yeah, look into the future or whatever, and you got Yoda and Mace Windu going, oh yeah, no, that's dark side abilities. Don't do that. Like the Jedi, are like, oh yeah, that leads to the dark side. Looking into the future because you gain a fear of what will happen or blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I think the ultimate goal is to become a Force ghost. That's what every Jedi is trying to achieve. So yeah, the ultimate goal is to become a Force ghost, and even the Sith are trying to achieve it, but the Sith can't achieve it because one of the things they have to be selfless, and the Sith are definitely not selfless. And so,
Oh yeah.
that's why we see Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker, how he's able to keep himself alive. His secret to immortality was doing it that way.
I get that, and that's a good point. I've never really thought about that, but I think achieving the Force Ghost in and of itself is an achievement. That's kind of like an immortality kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But the moment it starts getting physical, where you can do the same stuff you're doing as a physical person, I think that's a little silly, and I think it's a little goofy. That's just how I view it. You know, people will have different opinions, but that's how I see it.
Yeah, and then Rey going, I am all the Jedi, and all the Jedi are standing there giving her help. Do you think that was goofy too?
Wait, which part?
When Rey's going against Palpatine, she's like, I'm all the Sith. And she's like, I'm all the Jedi. And then you hear Anakin and Mace Windu, Isla Sakura.
You know what the goofy part from that is when freaking Palpatine, I think he puts his hands up, he does a lightning thing, and he affects every ship. There's like there might even be thousands of ships around him, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, okay, here's the thing. In The Rise of Skywalker, it gets to a point where it's like video game stuff, where it's like they're turning into superheroes. You know, like Jedi and Sith aren't superheroes. It's getting to a point where it's goofy and silly. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how you know?
Using a little Force storm. Think of like, well, I mean, you can think of it like electricity is kind of like, once it hits something and there's metal next to it, it's going to affect it. And so it creates like this big chain.
Yes.
You know?
Yes, I could
conductor.
I could think of it like that, but the thing is, there's
I get it. I'm just being funny.
No, yeah, no, but I mean, there's just too much evidence of this movie where it's just like they didn't really think about it, like they didn't really think about the rules, and it's kind of, I seem like a stickler saying rules, but it's like we don't want them to be superheroes. At least me, I don't want Jedi and Star Wars to be superheroes. It's its own thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think that's what they kind of did with the sequels, is that they tried to make it similar to Marvel.
No, that is true. That is true. You have those jokes. You have similar humor in like Last Jedi that they do in like Avengers movies, right?
Yeah, and it just doesn't work.
Nah, it doesn't. And like, here's the thing. Another thing about Rise of Skywalker, which again goes to the goofy and silly thing. And again, see, hey, by the way, the sequels fans probably turned off this podcast at this point. We've been hating on it so much.
A little bit.
Right. But I don't have a problem with force healing. Force healing has been around since I first got introduced to that in KOTOR, which I think KOTOR is a beautiful game, beautiful story, right?
Yeah, and it's in the expanded universe.
Now, here's the problem.
But it's a rare ability. Not everybody can do it.
And force healing is okay, but here's where it starts to get goofy and silly, is when you stab someone through the chest and you save them from death in 2 seconds, right? Which Rey does to Kylo Ren. Stabs him through the chest, saves him from death, and then you go later in the movie and they're doing the whole life transferring thing. I forgot who dies, but I think Rey dies and she transfers, or Ben dies and he transfers his life force to Rey, and it's just silly. It's just silly. Like, that's the whole reason why Anakin turned into Darth Vader, was because the Chosen One and Palpatine couldn't figure out how to save someone from death. They couldn't figure out how to cheat death, right? And Rey, she just has it. Who knows how, but she can do it. She can do it, right? Force healing is not a problem, but once you're saving them from death, well, you're like saving a fatal wound in like 1 second. It gets a little silly and goofy, right? That's how I think of it.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Like, in the books and the expanded universe, force healing was kind of like a rare ability. Not everybody was strong enough to use it.
Now, in the
And
books, just real quick, in the books and the stuff you're talking about, does it go to an extent where they're saving people from death and stuff, or is it just like healing wounds and kind of stuff like that?
it's mostly like healing wounds. I think even to the point of death, I'm sure they're able to if you're like really skilled in it.
Mhm.
But like it's kind of like that thing. It's like, oh, I'm really good at force healing, but I'm weak in like.
Hello.
Oh yeah, I heard all that noise. I was just
Oh.
waiting.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, like you have like the force healing. It's like, oh, I'm really good at force healing, but when you look at other aspects of the force, I'm not so great at it.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
And that's kind of how they kind of like balance it out in the books and make it not seem like, oh yeah, I'm this super powerful Jedi. I can throw lightning at 1,000 ships and then turn around and save somebody from death just by a touch of my hand type thing.
Right.
It's like, nah, you're strong. You have like one strong aspect of the force, one thing that you're really good at.
Okay. No, that's completely fair. I mean, even from watching, I think that's very fair. And I think even from watching like Palpatine, the prequels and the sequels, I never got the sense that he could shoot spaceships out of the sky, or even 1,000 spaceships out of the sky, which he does later in the movie. Like
Yeah.
I feel like it gets a little bit out of control, right?
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying. Like they should be really strong in one aspect. You know, I just think it,
But not everything. Like Anakin,
yeah,
for instance,
exactly.
like, what, there's force healing? You never asked.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think
Yeah.
I think Rise of Skywalker, that's what gets to a point where some people don't consider it canon. Like it seems like, again, Force Unleashed, which I think is a great game. It's a very fun game. It's not canon, right? And I don't think it ever should be canon.
No, because for the same reasons.
Yeah, for the exact same reasons. You got some really drastic, crazy stuff going on, right? And so that's why.
Which is cool to see, but then there's like, it's just a little too much.
Yeah.
That's why I like the Dark Forces trilogy or series. Everything in there is like practical.
Oh yeah.
Until you get to like Jedi Academy, then it's kind of a little goofy there, but still fun game to play. But either way.
Hey, one other point about this movie, I just want to make real quick is that I remember when I saw this in
Yeah,
theaters.
so we can move on.
Wait, what was that?
Oh yeah, so we can move on.
Yeah, oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I want to move on too. But I saw this in theaters with my family, and right when we got out of the theater, we all had it was so funny. We all had this similar reaction to it. We were like, it kind of felt like a fan film, and not in a good way, not in a good way, because we've seen a lot of really good fan films, but it seemed like it was too much spectacle and too much, like there's no establishing shots in that movie. Like we were talking about Binary Sunset earlier and how beautiful that is. Just you don't need dialogue, you don't need music. Or no, you need music. You don't need dialogue, you don't need like special effects. Just sit back and watch what happens, right? You don't get that in Rise of Skywalker. It's just boom, boom, boom. This happens. There's no real character stuff going on. You know what I'm saying?
Because J.J. Abrams is trying to fix everything that.
Exactly. It was too much.
Right. Yeah,
right.
And that's my complaint with it. It just seemed like they're trying to fix each other's mistakes, or it didn't seem like they're on the same page. Like I know everybody says, "Oh yeah, JJ was there helping with the Last Jedi," and I just feel like it wasn't, because you had the Force Awakens, Ryan Johnson did what he wanted with the Last Jedi, and then you got JJ Abrams trying to continue the story from Force Awakens while trying to adapt the Last Jedi's storyline into it.
Oh my gosh, 100%. It was too much to undertake in one film. It was way too much to handle. But I agree. I think we should move on. Hey, by the way, this is where, because I love Star Wars. We both love Star Wars. This is where the negative, for me, this is where the negative stuff ends. Like,
same. Because my next one is The Force Awakens, and I put that at 71%.
Ooh, okay.
And I like that one. I like that one out of all of them. I actually thought they played it safe on that one. And a lot of people do have a lot of complaints about it, especially with the fight with Kylo and Rey. But to me, that whole fight scene makes sense of why Kylo lost.
So I have Force Awakens at a 78%. So we're kind of close, but I actually have it a little higher. I'll let you. Do you have any important thoughts that you want to say about it?
No, basically, just what I want to say about it is I enjoyed it because it was I have a lot of memories with it, because that's when first Star Wars Celebration I went to, first trailer we saw there.
Mm.
I remember when they showed the trailer for the first time, me and my buddies were all in the panel, and we're literally probably about 6 rows from the stage. And so we got to see all the actors, everybody clearly. And then they played the trailer, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is like super cool because of all the shots. it just seemed like a Star Wars film, and then it just went downhill after that one.
Just went downhill. Yeah.
But I mean, with this one, like I still put it on my bottom 3 only because they played it safe.
Mhm.
I mean, what I say with the sequel trilogy is it was a learning experience for them, because honestly, it was just a money grab.
Yeah.
And after seeing the fan
really
reactions
was.
to
It really was, dude.
they kind of took a step back, and that's where we get all the other content. Like I really don't complain about any of the other content.
Yeah.
I quite enjoy a lot of the other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just say, no, I think the thing about The Force Awakens is it has a really great energy and spirit to it. Like, I really hope that people can separate Force Awakens from the rest of the sequel trilogy, because a lot of times people just say, I hate the sequel trilogy. I actually think Force Awakens is pretty good. For me, it's at 78%. We're creeping up on 80%, which is like B tier. So I think this is like top.
Yeah.
It's like the top of C tier. I think it really captures like the excitement and spirit and energy of the original trilogy. Not comparing it to the original trilogy, but it captures that energy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it really left the door open to so many possibilities. Like once I saw that movie, it was like they have a chance to make the sequel trilogy really great. They could go so many places.
And they took a missed opportunity.
What was that?
Luke, Leia, and Han together on screen again.
100%, 100%. Right? It's funny. I don't know how they overlooked that. They don't want Luke in it for some reason, but
yeah.
Now here's the thing. I'm like, I sound pretty positive about the movie. So why do I have it at 78? Why don't I have it in the 90s? Right. The first thing would be is obviously it's way too similar to A New Hope. And I was watching this. I like to watch YouTube videos about Star Wars, and I saw this video on this one guy who was really high on Force Awakens, and he was calling out everybody. He was saying everybody thinks they're so clever when they say that it's a direct copy of A New Hope. We don't think we're clever. It's just a fact. Like we don't think we're smart or clever for saying that. That's just how it is. It's just a fact. It's just it copies it down to very
specific
from
the planet
details.
destroyers.
What was that?
I said get away from the planet destroyers. Just
a
little bit new.
No, I mean, go down to the details. I mean, Rey even starts on a sand planet. We're not on Tatooine anymore. We're on Jakku, which looks exactly like Tatooine. And she's got the same outfit on as Luke. It's a little different, but she got a nice little white outfit on.
Same color, yeah.
I mean, we're talking about the smallest details. It's very similar to New Hope. So it's not original, right? So it loses points there. The other thing is you mentioned the Kylo and Rey fight, which here's the reason for me why that is bad. It's bad to me. Is because imagine if in A New Hope, Luke beats Vader in the very first movie. He doesn't even have to beat him. Let's say he duels him to a draw.
Okay.
Okay. That diminishes the villain. That diminishes the villain that you're trying to build up. Like Vader would not be who he was if in A New Hope, Luke completely duels Vader to a draw. And I think it's fair to compare Kylo to Vader because in every other sense, Force Awakens is directly draws from A New Hope, right? So I think it mentions Kylo Ren in that sense.
I don't think it does, only for the fact that they built up the hype of the bowcaster. They showed how powerful it was and whatnot.
All right.
And
that's true.
Kylo, like we see a stormtrooper fly across the room with it.
Right.
Kylo takes it and takes a step back. Like he takes the hit, and you can see like he's using a lot of his strength to not get blasted across the room because it's a lot stronger because of the Force.
Right.
Not to mention he just killed his dad.
Right.
So he's got not only physical pain, but he's got a little bit of emotional pain that's kind of holding him.
Yes.
And so he's a little distracted.
Good point.
Plus, even in the book, it talks about like he holds back against Rey because he feels something for her. He feels compassion for her or something.
Right. Now, and that's not something I overlooked. Those are good points, and I didn't overlook the wound that he was dealing with, but just the decision to make your villain beaten down and destroyed by the protagonist in the first movie of a trilogy, I think that's a misstep. I think it's a misstep.
And I think that's why they introduced Snoke, because Snoke was supposed to be the main villain. Kylo was just supposed to be a lackey.
And then we're trying to separate it, but then obviously we learned that Snoke is nobody, right?
Yeah.
But we're trying to separate it. But yeah, no, that's right. You're right. Snoke was supposed to be the big. He was supposed to be the big bad, which he wasn't.
Yeah. So I don't have complaints with that fight. Me and Echo 5 have discussions about this all the time. We have you and him have the very similar viewpoints.
Yeah. I
So,
still like the movie. By the way, I think this is an enjoyable watch. I have it all the way up to 78%.
Oh no, he says the same thing. Like that's the most enjoyable for him to watch too out of the sequels.
Yeah, like this is. I put this on sometimes just to watch it because I remember the hype around it. And it's a good movie. It's a fun movie to watch. I like it.
Fair enough. Yeah. It is a good film.
Wait. Hey, can we jump to my list real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so by the way, so my bottom two were Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi. And
Okay.
The third lowest on my list, which is quite a bit higher, it's all the way up to 68%. We're going up to 68%.
Okay.
Force Awakens is at 78%, but I'm gonna go down to 68%. Solo.
Solo, I have at 78%.
Okay. All right. Oh, we got a 10% difference now. This is considerable. This is a considerable difference.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it because it was a film I didn't think I wanted to see. It's a film I didn't think I was like, Solo, I don't want a movie about Solo. Like, come on. Let's do something different. Let's be a little bit more original. Right. Not to mention Alden, I was like, he doesn't look like Han Solo. He's not going to pull it off. Like, I was complaining about this movie the whole time. I went to go see it, and it was a lot better than I expected. Like, I came in and I was like, man,
nice.
That was a fun adventure.
Okay.
Maybe not the best Star Wars film, but it was a fun adventure.
Okay.
And Alden killed it.
Yeah. Wow. Obviously, you don't still think it's one of the best movies ever. Do you have problems with it?
Well, I'm actually gonna cut that out because I didn't mean one of the best movies, but I mean it was better than what I expected it to be.
Okay, so you went in with low expectations and it kind of surpassed those.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I
personally liked it better than Rogue One.
Well, okay. Yeah. We can get into that. So I had a different experience. For me, did I see Solo in theaters? I'm trying to think if I saw Solo in theaters. Either way, every time I watch it, it's like this. And I say like this, you can't see me physically. I have my hand going in a straight line. That's how Solo is to me. It's never up and it's never down. It's just this straight line. Nothing impresses me and nothing makes me like think, oh, it's bad. Like nothing makes me like really disappointed about it. It's just it's just there. And when I go in a Star Wars movie, that's not necessarily what I want. Right? I want to be excited. Right. I want to be excited. And so that's why I have it at 68. It doesn't go low. It never ever goes low. It never steeps into a low point of like Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker. But nothing in the movie really gets me excited. It's just a straight line. So Solo is my point. That's my content right there. Where anything above it is trending good, anything below it is trending bad.
Okay.
So Solo is my middle line, right? Solo, it's okay. You know what? If I have a friend that wants to watch it, put it on. It's not my first choice. It's not my last choice, but I'll watch it. It's okay. It's just there, right? It's okay.
I liked it because it had better character development than I'd say Rogue One characters, and that's what I liked about it. Like the story, just to me, was a little bit better than what it was.
And on that point, we 100% disagree.
I love Kira for one.
Okay. Okay.
The Maul introduction at the end was pretty dope.
Yeah.
It was originally supposed to be a trilogy, but it flopped so bad because of The Last Jedi that they canceled it.
Now, I just want to say real quick the other point, and you alluded to this really quick. And the other reason why this doesn't really rise up in my rankings is because again, the actor is good. What's his last name? Ehrenreich?
Alden Ehrenreich, yeah.
Yeah, he does a good job. He's a good actor. You can tell he's given 100%. But again, I just don't buy him as Han Solo. I don't buy it as Harrison Ford, and it's troubling because it's not. I think that's
one of the things I liked about him.
Yeah.
Is because he knew he couldn't fill those shoes, so he didn't try to be Han Solo.
And he does a good job. He's a good actor. I'll give it to him.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we're not talking about a 10-year-old Han Solo. We're talking about it's kind of close. It's kind of close to original trilogy. We're talking about a 20, 30-year-old Han. Yeah, and it's close. He's an adult, right? And so he doesn't look like him. They could get away with the Obi-Wan stuff, right?
Yeah.
Obi-Wan's supposed to be old as hell in original trilogy, and then we're going back to him in his 20s, okay? So we can get away with that. But they're so close in age, and I just don't buy him. The movie isn't that exciting to me. It's just average. It's okay, right? That's how I feel about it. But you're a little higher. You're not too high. I thought you would have it higher on your list, honestly. But we're
just because everything else just kind of trumps it.
Yes. Hey, and that's something I was when I was doing these ratings. I was kind of like, if I have this here, then I have to have this here, right? That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like you have to have things above it. You know, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely. My next one would be Bad Batch at 72%.
Yo, that's next on my list. Bad Batch is next on my list too.
What'd you put it at?
So you have a 72?
Yeah.
I have it at 70.
Okay.
We're so close. We might as well have it at the same rating. Okay.
Agreed.
Yeah. So
the reason why I put it there is just because it's like you said, it was with the other stuff, it's just underwhelming. Like there's like it started off great, and then the rest of it just kind of like for anybody that's listening, just go back and listen to us discuss the Bad Batch. Like we thoroughly enjoyed it, but it just wasn't as hype as everything else, in my opinion.
Right. Again, I have Bad Batch above Solo because I enjoyed certain parts. I really enjoyed some parts, but it's pretty much it's okay, right? It's at that level where it's just okay. It's not great.
Yeah.
It's not even really good. It's okay, right? So
yeah,
70%.
exactly.
I don't really have much else to say, but some parts I really liked. Have it a little above Solo, so it's okay. Star Wars. It's right there.
All you gotta say, if you want to know our in-depth ideas about it, go listen to our coverage.
Yeah, I think that's good because we got a lot of stuff to cover. So I mean, let's we'll move on. But yeah, hey, listen to our other podcasts if you want to hear some more in-depth stuff about Bad Batch.
And we'll be reviewing the movies in detail later on too. So
right.
So we'll try not to be negative when we get to the sequels.
Yeah.
So next on my list would be Rogue One at 73%.
Oh my gosh, that is. I don't even want to talk about it yet, dude, because I'm trying to save my best for last. Right. Wow. You had Rogue One at 73%.
73%. And the reason being for me is, like I said, like I didn't care for any of the characters. They died. I was like, whatever. I did like what's his face? The two Guardians of the Wills. I forget their names. The blind dude.
Oh yeah. Right.
He was cool. And K2SO. But even
right.
then, I didn't care for K2SO. But everybody else, I just thought was flat, boring characters. That when I saw them die on screen, I was like, okay, whatever. Like I didn't feel any emotion. But
that is. Oh, sorry.
I should probably rank this higher only because I really did enjoy the last 30 minutes of this film.
Right. Of course.
I think that's where this movie really stands out.
Yeah.
Is that last 30 minutes. Oh, and I loved Krennic. Krennic was really cool. I did really like his character and really felt bad for his character. He just got stepped on everywhere.
So, here's my thing with Rogue One. By the way, we completely disagree, and that's what we knew going into this we would have disagreements, right?
We disagree. We're Star Wars fans, and we disagree with each other.
Right.
And we're being respectful on those differences.
Oh yeah, who knew? Right. So
that's what makes these things interesting is that we don't always agree.
Oh no, that's the fun. That's the fun about talking about it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, by the way, I think we've been pretty consistent so far. We've actually agreed on pretty much everything. But this is where it gets different. You have Rogue One at a 73. I have Rogue One at an 88%.
Oh dang. Okay, so 50% different.
Oh yeah, we're getting up. By the time we get to 88, I'm getting up to we're getting up to greatness. Like I'm talking about Rogue One is in the realm of original trilogy. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's up in the greatness realm for me. Okay. it's so weird because I think honestly, I think most people really like Rogue One, and I think the people that do dislike it have the same feelings as you do, right?
I don't dislike it though.
Or okay, the people who don't think it's great have the same feelings that you do.
It just seemed very choppy as far as like moving from scene to scene. Character development was kind of whatever. Some of the lines were just cheesy.
That's a huge thing is the character development. A lot of people that aren't too high on it, they talk about the character development. I just think it's so good in Rogue One. The character development is so good. Andor is such a deep character we've never seen before with the whole gray area of the rebellion, because he's not true blue. He's not true blue like Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's a gray area right in the middle. He's in the rebellion.
Close to Saw Gerrera. And that's one thing I did like about Rogue One is that you got to see a little bit more of the grittiness of the rebellion side. It's not just cherries and Sundays.
And I
it's
think
like, no, we do some dark things. We are terrorists.
And I also think Jyn Erso's story is beautiful. I like how it's a rags to riches story. Not really riches, but she comes from nothing.
Couldn't stand her.
Oh my, Jyn Erso, she comes from nothing, and she ends up doing something so vital and important to help the rebellion. And also the actress, man. After watching Rogue One, I remember thinking, I was like, I almost wish they had her play Rey, because then she can be the main character. I think she's such a better actor or actress than
10 times
than Daisy Ridley. So much better. She does such a great job, man. I think she's so good.
I agree.
And she carries, and again, to carry a Star Wars movie on your shoulders is it's a lot of pressure, and she does it beautifully and like seamlessly.
Kylo Ren knows about that one.
Kylo Ren, right? Yeah, and we'll get to Attack of the Clones, but I think Hayden struggled with that a little bit in the prequels, but
there's reasonings for that.
Yeah, no, 100%. But anyway, the actress for Jyn Erso, she does a great job. I think she's a great actress. I think her character is beautiful. I think it's a beautiful story. We get Tarkin in it. We get a little bit of Vader.
A lot of fan service, yeah.
It's a little bit of fan service, but I mean,
Ponda Baba
bro,
and Dr. Evazan.
But bro, we saw Vader go OP. We've never seen Vader like that before. That's why everybody dreams of Vader.
And I predicted that scene 100% before the movie came out.
Did you?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Here's another thing. I think another really important thing about this movie is it was gritty. It was really gritty, and it was a little violent and dark. And we don't need every single Star Wars movie to be full of cheer and joy, right? I like a little bit of darkness to Star Wars every now and then. Not every movie, but every now and then I enjoy some darkness.
Yeah, Empire Strikes Back, bro.
Oh yeah, 100%. But yeah, so I have Rogue One all the way up at 88%. I think it's a great movie. I think it really rivals the original trilogy. Some other stuff that I have up there. I think it's greatness. That's all.
Fair enough. All right, greatness.
You're like, okay, we get it. It's great. Okay, let's move on.
Shut up, bro. No, I'm just kidding. Rogue One, no, I really enjoyed Rogue One. It's just on my bottom list. I just thought a lot of the other content was just better.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And this is going to be a surprising one. My next one is the Book of Boba Fett.
No,
at 83%.
That's my next ranking. But again, we're on different timelines on our rankings right now. But you have Book. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say you had Book of Boba Fett 83. I had Book of Boba Fett all the way down to 74%.
Okay. Interesting. And if you want to hear our thoughts about that, we got just like Bad Batch. We got Book of Boba coverage.
Right.
Which is pretty solid. And I put it that high only because of Mando and all the cameos that we got. By itself was just kind of very underwhelming, like we discussed earlier.
Right. Well, I kind of connected this to the next content on my ranking, so hopefully we can jump to my list after this because I'm kind of connecting it to something else.
Yeah, go for it.
But I have Boba Fett at 74% because I remember when we did the podcast, I just always considered it as it's in the 7 range. Actually, when I first did this ranking, I had it at 70%, but I bumped it up because of your reasons for those 2 episodes. For 5 and 6, right?
Yeah.
Chapters. They're called chapters.
Yeah, those 2 chapters.
So I bumped it to 74% because those are really good. But then we go back to Boba Fett in the finale, and it's just it's pretty good. It's not even good. It's just pretty good. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And check out our review. We've got every episode discussion on it, so go see why we put it at that.
Yeah,
And you'll see we're not so negative when we discuss them.
No. Because hey, you have it at 83. I have it at a 74%.
Yeah.
I think we're both trending in the area of where it's like, it's pretty good. It's not great. It's definitely not great. But there's some cool stuff in it. But we expected more. We honestly expected more from such a legendary character like Boba Fett.
I just wish it was more consistent.
Yeah.
I felt like it didn't need Mandalorian to build the show. It was building such a good story, and then they just lost it.
Right, and then here's like a kind of like a final point of like how I always think of Book of Boba Fett, and why I'm a little concerned. I almost wish we would have got Andor in May, even though I'm hyped for Kenobi. But
yeah,
with Boba Fett, it seems like they could have gone another week, few weeks, maybe even a month. Go over those scripts and just make those scripts really sing. I'm gonna say sing. Make them sing.
Yeah.
Make them beautiful, right? Because it seemed like it was rushed. And it didn't quite play out how the writers wanted it to. It just seemed a little discombobulated, right?
Yeah.
And so I think they could have spent a few more weeks, a few more months going over the story, make it a little better. So,
agreed.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
All right, what's your next one?
All right, so here's the thing. Next on my list, so I had Book of Boba Fett at 74%. 75%, I have Attack of the Clones.
Okay. I have Attack of the Clones at 85%.
85. Mark, that is very surprising. 85%. Wow.
Yeah, why is it surprising?
Because I didn't know you were really into the prequels like that. Because once you get to 85%, we're talking about maybe not great, but we're almost to great. We're almost to greatness.
So I started on the original trilogy. That's what got me into Star Wars.
Right.
But I tie a lot of like my nostalgia to the prequels because I remember getting into the Star Wars. I was collecting the action figures, and then the Phantom Menace trailer came out. It was just a teaser. I forget what it was on. It was like in the middle of a football game or something. We were watching the football game just to watch this trailer, and it pops up and got all this excitement for it. Like I saw them all in theaters. I saw them quite a bit in theaters.
Right.
And I never like hated the prequels, but I mean, I didn't hate the prequels until I got old. Well, I didn't hate the prequels. I started seeing flaws with the prequels when I got older, only because of the acting and stuff. But I mean, it's still high up there because it's Star Wars. Like
it's Star Wars through and through.
Yeah, so it's pretty. So for me, that all the prequels are going to be high up. Like everything from here on out, I believe is 80 and up.
Oh, nice. So yeah, I mean, because I would consider myself a very big fan of the prequels, but remember, I've actually have Force Awakens higher than Attack of the Clones. I have Force Awakens at 78, Attack of the Clones at 75%.
Right.
Because the reason is I think Attack of the Clones, because growing up, I always heard all the complaints about the prequels, especially from the generation, our parents' generation, right? Because they grew up with the original trilogy. Yeah. And I think all of their complaints, I think it really culminates in Attack of the Clones. We're talking about over-reliance on CGI. We're talking about awkward dialogue. There's quite a bit of awkward dialogue. Some like wooden acting where George Lucas is kind of having them act like they're just like kind of action figures. Like it's kind of like awkward acting even. And yeah, so this was another one where, like Book of Boba Fett, I had it at like a 70%, but then you really think about it and you're like, hey, we got Obi-Wan versus Jango Fett. We got the Battle of Geonosis. We got that opening action scene, which is pretty cool with the hunt to track down that bounty hunter. And you really think about it and you're like, there's some cool stuff in this movie, right?
Very true. Very true. I agree on those points as well.
Yeah, so this is my lowest of the prequels. I'm a huge prequel fan, but I'll leave this one at 75% just because if I could sit down and I could watch Attack of the Clones or Force Awakens right now, it might just be because I've only seen Force Awakens a few times. I've only seen Force Awakens maybe 3 or 4 times, but I'd rather watch Force Awakens. I think it's got some great energy to it. Attack of the Clones sometimes is lacking in the energy and excitement. So
I don't know. I like the arena scene.
It's so good. No, I agree with that.
A lot of the Padme stuff and Anakin on Naboo stuff was kind of lame or whatever. But I did like the Obi-Wan's adventure with to Kamino and learning about all that. Like, there's a lot of cool aspects to it for me. Like, I don't know, it's just really cool.
No, I like it. It's getting in the range where it's pretty good. Again, the final lightsaber fight I think is the weakest of the prequels. Anakin and Obi-Wan versus Count Dooku in Episode 2. That's the weakest.
Yeah, but I remember the excitement of seeing Yoda with the lightsaber for the first
time.
Right.
You're right. Yoda showing up for the first time.
And we're getting to see Dooku's skill versus Anakin and Obi-Wan. Like, Dooku's pretty good. And there had to be like a little jump up for Revenge of the Sith to kind of see that they grew. So it was mandatory that Dooku had to school both of them super easy, and then Yoda come in and it's like, okay, I'm gonna beat you up and save my two Chongas here, but now I gotta save them because you're just playing dirty.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, he kind of schooled both Anakin and Obi-Wan 1v2, and then he kind of dueled Yoda to a draw, basically. So
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, you're right. Kind of showed the power of the villain.
And then so right below Attack of the Clones for me was Phantom Menace at a 84%.
Okay. Hey, perfect. I have Phantom Menace all the way up to an 85%.
Reason on that is that's the only one that I've ever fallen asleep through.
Oh my gosh. Really?
I remember me and my buddy, we came back from somewhere, and we're at our buddy's Chris's house, and we saw the Clone Wars movie in theater. Then we went back to his house, and to wait for the Clone Wars show to come on, the very first episode, we decided to put on Phantom Menace. Once we got to the pod racing scene, I fell asleep.
Wow.
I'm not saying that the movie's boring. I know at the time I was like super tired. I was like exhausted from a lot of things. But for me, it just lacks out of the prequels. It's the weakest of the three. Because honestly, it's kind of similar to Rogue One for me. Like the most exciting parts of it are like the last 30 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, that's a fair point.
Just because a lot of the other stuff is just politics and build up. It's kind of like, all right.
Yeah. So I have a big jump because I had Attack of the Clones at 75%. I have Phantom Menace at 85%.
Okay.
And for me, once we get to 85%, we're talking about not great, but we're talking about really good, right?
Yeah.
And so here's the thing with Phantom Menace, I can really understand why a lot of people have it low. There's some politics talk. There's some. Hey, we haven't even talked about Jar Jar Binks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to go on this for maybe like a minute.
I actually like Jar Jar Binks. I rewatched Phantom Menace probably last year, and I don't remember being quite as annoyed by Jar Jar. I actually thought he was kind of funny. So
now, if sequel fans have made it this long in the podcast, they're saying, "You said Rise Skywalker is silly and goofy. Isn't Jar Jar Binks silly and goofy? What are you talking about? Jar Jar Binks is silly, right? He's doing like fart jokes and slapstick comedy, right?" And I agree with that, but I feel like the prequels, when they go silly and goofy, it goes into kind of an area where it's like slapstick, whereas the sequels, it gets into a point where it's like kind of really it's like degrading Star Wars, where it's like it's going to a point where it's like a different silliness, if that makes any sense. It's a different type of goofiness. Like Jar Jar.
Yeah.
Remember, I rewatched it with a friend. I rewatched the entire saga, and we were watching the prequels. And after we got done with Phantom Menace, we were like, it's funny because like Jar Jar back then, he was so hated, and like a big reason why people hated it. And it's like we almost thought maybe George Lucas went back and took some of the scenes out or something because it's not a big deal. He's not really that big of a deal in the movie.
No, but he's super annoying in the Clone Wars. Not gonna lie.
Oh, okay. No, that is true. and he is annoying in some parts in Phantom Menace, but he's not even that big of a part in Phantom Menace. Like he's like a part of it, but it doesn't ruin the movie for me. I don't know if it ruins it
Yeah,
for you,
Sith
but
Lord Jar Jar.
yeah, but so you said Sith Lord Jar Jar, and now the part where I do disagree is that again, lots of politics talk. I understand that if you put it down, Phantom Menace down on your list for that, I understand. But I found the pod racing scene extremely exciting. I thought that was some really cool action. I thought they did a great job, especially for 1999 too. The CGI looks
Yeah,
pretty good.
love the pod racing game.
And there's a top 3 lightsaber battle in the movie as well.
True.
Darth Maul versus Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. And I just find it all so fascinating. I feel like this is the movie where it's George Lucas at his most like unaltered, unaffected, because after the original trilogy, George Lucas was put up to this god status where people are like, oh my gosh, he's one of the gods of film. Like he's a great filmmaker. And so nobody was telling him what to do on Phantom Menace. He just did his own thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it was all interesting. And I find everything. I actually find almost everything he did interesting.
I agree.
So, I quite liked it.
Nick. Yeah, I actually like Phantom Menace was a lot of fun. It's a fun adventure.
Yeah, still to this day, I watch it. I like it. I think it's very enjoyable. I think it's a very, very good movie.
Next would be Revenge of the Sith for me at 86%.
I'm not ready to get into that yet.
oh, but you must.
All right, go. Oh man. All right, go ahead. We're getting into it. Go ahead.
The strongest of the prequels, I think. And I used to flip flop a lot on it. Between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, I struggled on which one was better. But Revenge of the Sith is the one that I've seen the most. Always enjoyed it. Love the final battle. I know a lot of people I used to have some issues with that fight scene, but I saw some TikTok video or whatever, and the guy was kind of describing that the techniques were actually real techniques that are used. And I forget the reasoning. And so that kind of fixed it a little bit for me on that fight scene.
Okay.
But just the emotion between Anakin and Obi, like through that, and then just the whole buildup was the whole movie itself was just like good from start to finish.
Right. And so you have an 86. You don't want to put it in the 90s.
Nah, that's it for some special stuff.
All right. Well, this is gonna be funny. If we have some big prequel fans out there, this is for you guys. Revenge of the Sith is number 1 on my list.
Okay, what percentage do you give it?
Revenge of the Sith is at a 98%.
Okay.
Revenge of the Sith is the best Star Wars content that I think has ever been created.
False, but okay.
It's funny because here's the thing about Revenge of the Sith. It's like people who agree with me, they'll go to battle with me. But people who disagree with me, they'll be like, "Yeah, that's just you're wrong. That's stupid, right?" But
I can see why you have it up there and why you'd say that though. Like I won't disagree with your reasonings on it but I have the same reasonings for everything else that I have above Revenge of the Sith. And it was a tough battle trying to place everything because I was like, oh, I like this because of this. Oh, I like this because of this, and so I had to put it in a list. And
yeah.
there's just some things that were just better than the prequels for me.
Now, part of this plays.
Always fun to watch.
Oh yeah, no. At the end of the day, Revenge of the Sith is fun to watch, right? It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
Right. Part of this is nostalgia.
I actually think it's Anakin's I'd probably say it's one of Hayden Christensen's best performances.
Oh, dude. Okay.
Like he really jumps into the role, and that's what I really like.
Okay. Yeah.
Attack of the Clones, I found him super whiny and annoying, and then you jump into Revenge of the Sith, completely different character. I'm like, all right, this guy's badass. Let's do this. Nope. Okay, you're walking in. Okay, younglings, they see you. Okay, so you're gonna kill him? You know what? I agree with you. You're such a great character. Just build up, kill him. I'm not even gonna be mad. Like I'm on your side. Let's go, Lord Vader.
No. I think Hayden does a good job in Revenge of the Sith.
And Ewan,
some of this
I'd
is
say
because of
Ewan
nostalgia.
does a solid job from every film. I never had any issues with Ewan's acting.
Oh, Ewan? Yeah. Whoever had a problem with Ewan McGregor?
No one. That's why everybody's so excited.
Ewan McGregor's
he's the GOAT.
Yeah, he's great. All right, so let me get into why I have 98% is pretty drastic. That's almost perfect, right? So let's
Yeah.
get into why I have Revenge of the Sith at a 98%. Okay. So I couldn't have it 100 because no movie is perfect, so I'm not gonna have it 100%. And I didn't have it at 99% because there was something else I wanted to see in the movie that wasn't in there. So I went ahead and put it at 98%.
Dude, I don't even have anything at 98%.
Yeah, no, seriously, no. Hey,
I think
get
my
it.
highest is 95%, and you'll hear what that is
90,
later.
98 is drastic, but this is like part of my love for Star Wars because this is like probably my favorite movie of all time, like of any genre, right?
Yeah, okay.
So let's talk about. I think you might disagree. I think Revenge of the Sith has the greatest opening of any Star Wars movie, the greatest 20, 30 minutes opening sequence.
I think it's one of the every Star Wars film, I believe, is started in space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a fact. Everyone has.
I think this is the first one that started with a battle.
No, huge battle. We're talking about lightsaber fights, action packed, good acting, nice banter. There's some good banter between Obi-Wan and Anakin.
Yeah.
And R2 kicks some ass. R2 takes down 2 super battle droids with his little fire stuff.
Which is cool, but almost as cheesy as BB-8 stuff from the sequels.
It was what?
Said almost as cheesy as the BB-8 stuff from sequels.
Okay, I mean, I'll give it. It's a little cheesy, but when I watch it, I think it's exciting. I think it's cool. I'm like, let's go R2, attaboy.
Actually, it makes more sense because we've seen him with more compartments. We've seen how kind of his personality is.
Yeah, 100%. So, Revenge of the Sith has a great opening. I think it's the darkest Star Wars movie. I think it's the most emotion-packed Star Wars movie. We're talking about the ending 30 minutes. It's probably the end. The last hour, or it's probably like 40 minutes to an hour of this movie where it's just packed with emotion. So some of the greatest lightsaber battles. I mean, sometimes I forget that Yoda freaking duels the Emperor, which is like that's like a Star Wars fantasy. You wouldn't even expect seeing that happen, but it happens in this movie. You know, it's just great. And then we were talking about establishing shots, and just like when we were talking about Rise of Skywalker, we were talking about let's just take a step back and kind of look at develop some characters. We have this great moment in Revenge of the Sith where everything's quiet. It's just music, no dialogue. And you have Anakin looking out. He's in the Jedi Temple. He's looking out over Coruscant. Padme is at her home. She's looking out at Coruscant. And they're both just looking out, and they're like, man, what's going to happen? And in this scene, there's no dialogue. And it's the scene where I think Anakin turns into Darth Vader. He starts crying. Anakin starts crying, and he says, I'm going to the dark side. I have to side with the freaking Emperor of the Sith because I gotta save Padme. And I think it's a beautiful moment. It's one of the it's like it's not as good as like Binary Sunset, but it's like that kind of vein of scene. It rivals it. It's beautiful.
And that's why I like the Clone Wars, because it develops a little bit more Anakin's turn to the dark side and why he sides with the Emperor over the Jedi, even though he's been practically with the Jedi for 8 years?
Yes.
So, I mean, if I was Anakin, I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, and in this movie, he's put into a corner where he's just desperate. He doesn't turn
the Jedi are doing nothing for me.
Yeah, no, the Jedi kind of they don't respect him really. You kind of get that sense.
Mace treats him like trash.
Yeah, he's not really respected by the Jedi, and he's lost his mom. We saw how freaking crazy he got by losing his mom. He doesn't want to lose somebody else who's that close. Or I think Padme's even closer to him than his mom was. Yeah. And it turns Darth Vader into this tragic, desperate, it's like Romeo and Juliet story. I think it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Very true.
And by the way, this is coming from somebody. I just started watching Clone Wars, so I didn't have the Clone Wars backing up all my prequel hype. I've just always liked the prequels from the jump.
Yeah,
and I think,
very true.
And when I think of Star Wars, and this is crazy, we can move on after if you want, but when I think of Star Wars, the first thing I think of is Revenge of the Sith. It's so influential to me. Even when I was a kid, I remember people would always talk crap on it, and I'd be like, "What the hell are you guys talking about? This is like the best movie I've ever seen." And I grow up. I've been through some stuff. I've seen all kinds of movies. I really like Yeah, we don't have to get into that, but I like all kinds of movies. I still think
Yeah.
I still think Revenge of the Sith is a great movie, and it's probably my favorite movie of all time. 98%. That was kind of a long rant, but it's at my top, so I kind of had to talk about it a little bit. So,
And you're not the only person I know that has it that high.
yes.
It's just for me because I'm like, I've seen all the content so many different times that it's really hard for me. It was really hard for me to make this list because I had to tie in nostalgia plus story plus like things that made the movies cool.
Yes.
And that's one of the things I liked about their prequels also is that that's the first time that we saw a CGI character, which is Jar Jar.
No. You're talking about Phantom Menace.
Oh, Phantom Menace, yeah, the prequels, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's heavy on CGI, but it was like the introduction to CGI into the film industry, and so it deserves a little bit of credit for that as well.
Oh, 100%. Hey, I'll spend 30 seconds on this. I'm not going to go on a whole rant about this, but here's the thing about CGI. When it's done right, it stands the test of time. When you look at General Grievous and you look at opening space battle in Revenge of the Sith, all that stuff from Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah,
I mean,
it looks solid.
Bro, Grievous looks just as good, if not better, than some of the CGI characters we see today in the 2020s, right? And
Probably because most of the scenes he's in is also CGI.
most of the what?
Most of the scenes he's in is CGI.
Okay, true, but
I do have to agree with you because like most
Yeah.
time, like I'll go back and I'll watch something that I was like, oh man, back in the time I was like, when I first saw it, I was like, oh man, this is the greatest CGI ever, blah blah. And then I watch it like 5 years later, and you can totally see that it's CGI.
Well, same with Phantom Menace. Jar Jar Binks from Phantom Menace is aged, I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
But
you can go back to those scenes and you're like, okay, yeah, they fit there still. Like I know it's CGI, but I don't. My eyes aren't adjusted to the new stuff to be able to catch it now. It aged well.
Hey, let's compare the space battle from the opening space battle from Revenge of the Sith to the space battle from the end of Rogue One, which there's a more than a 10-year decade between those two. I can't really tell the difference. They is right, and so I think this Revenge of the Sith, they did everything to like the highest quality that they could. It's the prequel era as highest quality. I love the film. CGI is great. It's the best Star Wars movie for me.
But I do have to throw in there the prequels and like even the originals. They've gotten redone several times as far as like the editing.
Is that true? Has Revenge of the Sith ever been touched ever since it came out on DVD? From DVD, really?
They redid it. They redid it for Blu-ray, and then I believe they're working on it for 4K.
Really, I didn't know that.
I don't know if they've
what are they changing?
They do just touch-ups. Not like
that's what I'm saying. They're not changing whole shots, right? They're changing like.
No. Like I know from the originals to the 20th anniversary, the special editions scenes were added.
Right.
And then from DVD to Blu-ray, I know stuff was changed there. Just minor things like Kenobi's Great Dragon Call, Vader yelling no at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Right.
Just like small things like that, but no like new scenes after. Once you hit Blu-ray, there's no new scenes other than maybe like Anakin changing from Peter to Hayden. Stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. No, that's true.
Which that got a lot of hate back in the day, but the reason why I disliked it because it was kind of a diss to the original actor who played it. I was like, man, that's the only time he gets his face on screen other than when Luke takes the helmet off and he's just getting completely kicked out. It makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, when was the last time it was Anakin? When was the last time it was Anakin? It was Hayden Christensen era. That's Anakin, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'll just do this super quick. The reason why it's not at a 99%, I put it at a 98%, is because I would have liked to see Anakin, when he turns to Vader, not in the suit, but like when he's still Anakin in the flesh.
Yeah.
I would like to see him strike down some Jedi. All we see him do is strike down Nuke Gunray, and that's it. We don't see him strike down a Jedi. He gets beat by Obi-Wan.
I see him strike down Syndralik in the recordings.
Oh, is that right? Does he slay a Jedi in the recording? Really?
Yeah, but I mean it's a recording. It's not like we actually get to see him walk into the temple and actually have a duel and just strike them down. It's just from a recording.
Yeah, I would like to see Vader do a little more damage. I would like to see him. We see him slay some kids with some kids.
No, right? We don't even get to see him do that. We just know he does it.
Yeah, yeah, oh, that's right. So he slays kids, he slays nobodies, right? I would like to see Anakin defeat a peer, somebody who's at the same level, and I want to see him dismantle them, right?
And that's why I was saying I would love to see Vader's perspective, thinking back on his raid to the Jedi Temple, and get to see a little
Right.
bit more of that.
100%. 100%. Yeah, because he went to the Jedi Temple. Why not show him kill a Jedi? That'd be very beneficial.
I think that would have been like the hype for the entire movie. That would have tossed. Honestly, if they did that, it probably would have been higher up on my list.
Yeah, so I mean that's literally like my only problem that I can think of with Revenge of the Sith. Would have been nice to see. Would have been nice to see that.
Indeed. So my next one is, I know you don't have this one on your list because you haven't seen it yet, is Rebels at 86%.
Okay. Yeah. So I can't talk about it, but
The reasons I'll go ahead and discuss the reason why I put it on there.
Yeah.
One, it really felt like Star Wars. Like we got a period of time between 3 and 4 that we've never really touched upon. And a lot of people are like, oh, Clone Wars is better, blah blah blah. I mean, I don't think you can really compare the two because both of them are different styles and different eras. Clone Wars is a bunch of like battles and stuff, and most of it's like told from like the news perspective.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they're shooting for. And Rebels is kind of more of like, okay, you're following a character who survived Order 66, runs into a kid who is force sensitive, struggles between, should I train him, take him with me and teach him the ways of the force, or should I continue just being who I am now? And so he ends up taking this kid, training him, and opens up his entire story to joining the rebellion.
Right.
And runs into Vader a few times, deals with Maul a few times. And Rebels gave us a really cool scene between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul. Kind of gave us some closure to that whole story arc with bringing Maul back.
I have seen that scene. I will say I've seen that whole scene.
Yeah, and a lot of people complain about that, and I'll get more into that once we cover it, which will probably be like a couple of years from now at this rate that we're with all the new stuff coming out. But
yeah,
I mean, just overall, I just liked a lot of the lore that came out of it. They brought in Thrawn, which for the most part was pretty good. I did have some complaints with him, but for the overall, he was pretty good. And so it's just pretty much stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah, I can't really comment too much on it, but yeah, I'll be watching it soon because I'm halfway through Clone Wars, so
yeah, you'll like it. And I'm kind of
Nice.
biased because my cousin Zeb.
He's what?
Zeb. He's one of the characters in the show. One of the
Really?
crew. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
So I'm a little biased on it, but other than that, that's not my main bias though. The show's actually really good.
Nice. Yeah, cool.
I actually got I almost every celebration he got me into the Rebels panel, and I got to sit with like all the actors and stuff, not with the main cast, but I got to sit in the audience with like the families and stuff of the actors. And I remember when I think it was season 3, I think it was General Soto. I think that's his name. I ended up sitting down, and there's this Asian guy just sitting next to me, and he just starts talking to me. I'm like, oh, cool, another Star Wars fan. Like, I'm down to talk. And then he started telling me he's one of the characters in the show, and I just started talking to him and told him about my cousin, and we just got like this whole conversation. It was super cool. Really, really nice guy.
Yeah.
And he was telling me everything about like a lot of stuff about the show, and sadly the character dies, but he's a really cool guy.
Cool. That's
one
cool.
of my fun experiences from Rebels.
Yeah.
I think it's another reason why I have it so high up on the list is just because I got a lot of those experiences. Because I remember down in Florida when they did it in Orlando, my cousin was down there and he got me to sit with all the signings, and that's where I got to meet Sam Witwer, who does the voice of Maul and Palpatine and Clone Wars. He's also Starkiller and Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
I got to meet Freddie Prinze Jr., who plays Kanan. Got to meet Bodhi from Rogue One. Super cool guy, and
he's a good actor too.
Oh, solid actor. Everybody there was like super nice. And so that's kind of why I run Rebels, because there's a little bit more background for me on it, a little bit more emotion that's tied to it. But as far as like the story and stuff, it's still pretty good too.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that soon. I've heard good things. Some people don't like it. I've heard some bad things too, but I'm looking forward to
honestly, because people don't like the animation style, and 2, people don't like the thin lightsabers.
Yeah,
they look like toothpicks.
My brother actually watched that first episode, and he was like, "Yeah," or maybe he watched a clip of it. He was like, The lightsabers are like pencils. It's like, what? Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's just the animation style. Like, I never had any issues. It's kind of the same thing. It's like, oh, the Sith Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor has a big forehead. He looks nothing like Rebels, but I mean, it's a style. So I mean, I can get over it. It's like, okay, yeah, pencil lightsabers, whatever. Everything else about it's still pretty cool.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of Ezra's arcs, especially with him and Maul.
Right.
Maul's story arc is actually pretty cool. Like, I don't know, anything with Darth Maul is just killer.
Yeah. I'm also glad that I know that they do kill Darth Maul in Rebels before original trilogy. Very thankful for that. Very happy that I love Maul, but I'm happy that they kill him before original trilogy. Right.
They couldn't have done it any other way. This is how it had to go down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next on my list would be Mandalorian at 89%.
Nice. I've Mandalorian at 90%, so we're it's right there.
All right, cool. Overall, good. I like what they did with it. It's something different. It's their kind of way of apologizing for the sequels. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to be a sequel hater. I'm really not, because I really enjoyed them. I just didn't think they're the greatest. But I mean, with the Mandalorian, it seems like they were really actually paying attention to a lot of the complaints the fans had and giving us something new. And that's what I think. That's also what I really liked about it. It's something new. They're not telling the story of someone we already knew.
Right. Original.
It's something completely new.
That's
we have
true.
no idea about this character. Completely new adventures. We don't know what to expect out of this character.
Right. It's an original character. It's two original characters are the main characters.
Yeah. So you can't get disappointed with a character that's brand new.
Right.
Because you don't have these pre thought out scenarios. Like, especially with a lot of people in the original trilogy, like a lot of people, they read the books and they got to see Luke turn into this Grandmaster Jedi and become the super powerful guy who went to the dark side.
Yeah.
They had to bring him back, and that's why Luke is so powerful, is because he learned to balance between the dark and the light and all that stuff. And so with the Mandalorian and a lot of the new stuff that's coming out now, it's like there's no way to be disappointed. I think that's why a lot of people were disappointed with the Book of Boba, is because it's the same thing. He wasn't a new character. People had these ideas about Boba.
True.
And not saying they didn't do a great job with them. It was just underwhelming.
I will say that that's true, but we did allude to this earlier. There are instances where you look more into a character and it does elevate, like Obi-Wan and the Emperor. And I think they almost made Boba Fett's character a little, I don't know, worse, but they didn't do anything with it, really.
Yeah. Fair enough. And even in the original trilogy, you can't really get any worse with Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan, you see him, he becomes a Force ghost, and the rest of the time he's sitting down talking to Luke.
Yeah, true.
And same thing with Vader. Like, Anakin's different than Vader.
Yeah.
So I mean, those would be my arguments for that.
Fair
but
point.
I do agree with your point on that. Sometimes it can be elevated, but I think a lot of people had more. People saw Luke Skywalker as like their childhood hero and stuff like that, and so you jump into this character and they have all these ideas and turn out to this character. It's like, okay, all right, not what I expected. And
Are you talking about for Last Jedi?
Yeah, not sure I can get over it. But I mean, I've read articles. I understand a lot of reasons why people like that version of Luke. I tend to disagree on some of it, but I can understand it.
Well, I don't. You mean you were talking about like nostalgia, like they seem as a childhood iconic hero, but it's just so it's un-Luke. It's like
Yeah.
It's not the character. So I think that's if you disagree with that, I think it's fair. But I'll just jump in real quick. Why I have Mandalorian at 90%. Again, you said the original characters. I think that's really important to talk about. Star Wars is such a big universe. We don't have to go to the same characters over and over again. It's nice to get some new characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
different stories.
Right. Different stories, and they do it so well. Another real strength of The Mandalorian, it's 5 years after the original trilogy, and they capture the feel of the original trilogy better than any Star Wars content I've ever seen.
And he's not a Jedi.
And it feels like everything in The Mandalorian feels like it's in the same universe as Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, and New Hope. Mandalorian is just, it's great character development. People argue season 2 of Mandalorian gets a little bit into fan service, but
it's still well written.
It's well written. And here's the thing. Okay, here's another reason why Mandalorian is up in the 90% is that it's so important to the legacy of Star Wars. I didn't watch Mandalorian season 1 or season 2. I didn't watch Mandalorian until a year after it came out. It was like 6 months to a year, right?
Okay.
Even though I'm a huge Star Wars fan, after I saw the sequels, we apologize to the sequel fans, but I just did not trust Disney with it. And I was like, oh, it's okay. It's a Disney TV show. I saw the stuff about Baby Yoda. I was like, oh, it's all hype, right? I'm not really interested. I got to a point where I wasn't really interested in Star Wars anymore. Like I wasn't interested in the new content, right? Obviously, I still love the prequels. I love the original trilogy, but I wasn't interested in the new stuff that was coming out. But I watched Mandalorian, and instantly, from the first episode, I was like, yep. And then 100%, I knew that they were doing it right. Right? It was written so well. And then I look further into it, and you see it's a whole different team that's working on Mandalorian than that was working on the sequels. It's a completely different team that was doing it.
Yeah.
And Mandalorian like kind of reinvigorated my love for Star Wars. So I think it did. I really think it did that for a lot of fans too, because you still got fans that weren't fans of the prequels, like from our parents' generation, from my parents' generation, and they see Mandalorian and they're back into it. So I think it's very important.
And not even just older fans. Like we got newer fans that got brought into it with it.
Right.
Mostly because of Baby Yoda, or Grogu, but
either way, I think it's really important to like the legacy of Star Wars. And
I agree.
I don't even think that's overstated. I think it's just a fact. It's really important, and it's just well done. It's great. It's greatness.
Yeah. Next on my list would be Return of the Jedi at 90%.
Okay, I've Return of the Jedi at a 93%.
Okay. Mandarin's here has my favorite lightsaber battle in it.
Oh,
and my favorite space battle scene.
Your favorite lightsaber battle of all time? Is that what you're saying? Nice. It's right up there. It's in the top 3 for me.
Yeah, and the reason why I choose it as like my favorite lightsaber scene is because it's similar to the Revenge of the Sith one between Anakin and Obi. You have that emotion between Luke and Vader.
Right.
Like you really get to see Luke struggling between the dark and the light side, and he even goes to the dark side a little bit, and you get to see him recognize that and throw his lightsaber down.
Yeah. And the whole scene too. We take it all for granted, but the way they set up the Emperor in that scene is so. We say beautiful a lot, but it really is. It's impactful, is what it is. It's like they do
his influence over Luke while he's battling Vader.
Right.
It's like, okay, strike Vader down and become my new apprentice. Either way, you strike me down, you're going to the dark side, because killing me is the dark side. And that's one thing I didn't like. It's like, okay, kill the Emperor. It's like, kill him. You're just getting rid of evil. It's not going to make you go to the dark side just because you're killing someone bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, what I really liked about it is because it had 2 different things.
Mm-hmm.
It had Palpatine trying to convince Luke to strike Vader down to become his apprentice.
Yeah.
Vader still had it in his mind to turn Luke to kill the Emperor so they could take over. But he wasn't just going to let Luke do it. Because Luke even pulls the lightsaber and gets ready to strike it, and Vader actually protects the Emperor.
Right.
And I think that was kind of like a little bit of a test for Luke. Like, okay, yeah, you can strike him down while he's defenseless, but you got to prove to me why you're worthy of this position.
Right. No, that's right. The thing about this battle, it's so deep, like on so many levels, because you got conflict within Luke, and you have conflict within Vader. So each character is conflict within themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whereas
who's going to turn?
Whereas Revenge of the Sith is just more, it's good versus evil. Anakin's pure evil. Obi-Wan's pure good. Right?
Yeah, because like up to this point, like in all the films, like Vader, oh yeah, he's an evil guy. He was Anakin, slaughtered the Jedi, blah blah. He's a bad guy. Luke, yeah, kill him. And then you get to see the human side of him, and his battle with Luke is, like you said, they're both conflicted, and that's one of the things I really liked about it, because like even with Mandalorian, like Mandalorian can show expression with a helmet on. And they did that well with Vader as well.
100%. That's so true.
And that's one of my things why I hated that they added Vader yelling no before he threw Palpatine down. Because they did so well with Vader looking back and forth. Yeah. You could already tell what he was thinking. Yeah. You could already see him struggling. Am I strong enough to take down the Emperor and finish him off? and save my son,
Hmm.
or should I just let Luke die? And
Right.
you just see that struggle so much in there, and then you just see that final turn, and he just picks up the ember and throws him, and then it just became super cheesy when they added the no. And I was like, okay, I'm like, it kind of made it that a little bit silly for me.
Okay,
But
that's fair. That's fair.
But I still like that scene a lot, just because of that. You see that conflict. You see his emotion through the mask, just by
Oh
his
yeah,
movements.
yeah. And Anakin fulfills the prophecy of being the chosen one and kills Palpatine. Oh wait, never mind. He doesn't kill Palpatine because Palpatine comes back. Wait, never mind. No, I'm just kidding. Let's just forget that happens. Let's just forget about
Yeah,
that for a
but
sec.
I think people don't really understand what the balance of the Force is. Like,
Okay, no,
Anakin's supposed to
that
bring
is fair.
balance to the Force,
Right.
and I think by Anakin destroying the Emperor and dying and leaving the generation for Luke to start brings the balance to the Force, because the Jedi screwed it up so bad.
Yeah.
Luke is a new start to bring a true balance. So Luke was his key to bringing balance.
Yeah.
And people are even saying Rey was a chosen one, blah blah blah. But I think it's because of Vader, Rey would never happened.
Wait, how would Rey be? She did the same thing that that Vader did. How would she be the chosen one? There's no difference between what Vader did and Rey did. They both killed Emperor Palpatine.
Technically, yeah.
But I do get that point, and I agree with that to some extent. But I think for all intents and purposes, I think 100% when they were making the Return of the Jedi, Palpatine was dead. It was a great triumph. It was a huge triumph that Luke and Vader took down the Empire and the Emperor. And
Yeah.
I think Rise of Skywalker diminishes that a little bit. I really think it does. But can I also say that literally like the greatest 30-second to a minute stretch in any Star Wars movie. Again, I love the prequels, but I think I have the original trilogy and the prequels are equal for me. I love them both. The greatest like 1 minute stretch is if you won't turn, perhaps she will. Luke says never. You got the great choreography of Luke taking down Vader. The music is so freaking great in that sequence.
Solid.
Yeah, and the choreography is beautiful. And oh my gosh, sometimes I just replay that scene over and over. It's just awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
And then also, hey, we were talking about openings earlier. Return of the Jedi is one
Yeah.
of the best openings in all of Star Wars when Luke ignites that green saber and starts slicing and dicing everybody at
Oh
Jabba's
yeah,
palace.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah. Yep.
And then that's where we get to see the beginning of the Book of Boba. This is right where
Right.
that battle ends.
I don't know why I laughed. It's just funny. It's just kind of somehow it just doesn't feel like that's a continuation of that, you know?
No, I get you. And also, just real quick, one of my favorite space battles. I
Oh
love
yeah.
the second Death Star space battle. I think that's my favorite
Yeah.
space battle.
It's
Then
great.
it's
Yep.
I think Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi both share my top two space battles and top two lightsaber battles.
Nice. Yes. It's kind of cool that they mirror each other in those ways too. They're both the endings
The third
of
and the
each trilogy.
Yeah,
Right.
agreed.
Yeah, that's cool.
So next on my list would be A New Hope at 92%.
Okay. A New Hope is my second greatest content at 96%. I have Revenge of the Sith at 98%. A New Hope. For a long time I had those two even, but I finally
Okay.
put Revenge of the Sith above New Hope. A New Hope to me is the best of the original trilogy. I know that's probably an unpopular opinion. That's how I've always felt. I love A New Hope.
Has my favorite score in it.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Binary Sunset can't top that in any news.
Also, just one of the best scenes, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Binary Sunset, just one of the best scenes.
Agreed. I don't know, everything about this one is just pretty cool because you can kind of relate to this kid. He's just kind of a nobody. And
Right.
I mean, how many of us are just always looking off into space or just off into the distance going, man, I really want to go on a big adventure.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And this is Luke 100%. And he goes off on everybody wants to go on a big adventure and be a hero of the story, and Luke gets to fulfill that. And so everybody gets to be relatable because he's just a farm boy. And it's saying, to me, the message is like, okay, even a farm boy can become a galactic hero. So it doesn't matter who you are, what you are. You've got greatness inside you.
Right.
And so that's one of the things I like about that one.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, from start to finish, it's a fun adventure. I
Oh,
love the introduction of all the characters, the snarkiness, just the situational humor that they throw in, especially when they get to the Death Star. Han Solo
yeah.
always calling Leia princess, and
Yes.
him running
so-
by himself into the
Can somebody get
stormtroopers.
this walking carpet out of my way?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Leia says about it. Chewie. It's very funny.
Stormtrooper hitting his head on the door.
Yeah. No. Okay. Now, A New Hope. I just think it's a great movie. There's also something to be said about if you watch other movies from the '70s. Just nothing feels like this. Like this, literally feels like, it almost feels like a modern movie in some senses, right?
Agreed.
And it's just the foresight that Lucas had to create this legendary. It's like a piece of art. It's like I think it's so great. It's legendary, and maybe I'm a sucker for like origin stories, but every single moment, every scene, every dialogue I see of this movie is just like legendary. I'm like, wow, because this sparked Star Wars, right? This is the start. This is the start of Star Wars. I just think it's so beautiful, and I do
From the
disagree with you.
cantina scene to the Death Star scene to
Oh,
the Battle of the Yavin.
and the characterization,
Love it.
the character development of Han, they're like perfect characters. And I will say, this is where I disagree about the greatest space battles. I think the space battle from A New Hope is better than space battle from Return of the Jedi. I think it's so beautiful. To this day, I always smile when Luke's on the trench run and he almost gets shot down, and then Han comes out of nowhere and shoots off his enemies, and he's like, "All right, you're all free, kid. Go get him." I can't remember the exact dialogue, but it's an awesome moment. I just think A New Hope is so good. It's legendary.
I do love that scene. It's like you get to see the smuggler who all he cares about money comes back to like, all right, I guess I made some friends. I don't want to see him die, so
Yeah.
let me be your wild card.
Yeah, it's just the movie is just like the legendary, the definition
It's
of
not cheesy.
Oh no, it's not cheesy. It's
It's
legendary.
story driven. Obi-Wan is super mysterious with the full Force thing. It's like you get introduced to the Force and you're like, what is this?
Yes. It's got this like specific humor to it. Like a lot of Star Wars stuff, they get the humor wrong, and that might sound like it's hating, but sometimes the humor just doesn't feel right. And just look at A New Hope. Like
that's why I say situational humor.
Right.
It's like, not jokes. It's just situation. Like I mentioned,
exactly.
You got a stormtrooper running and then turns around and runs, and then Han Solo just starts running by himself, and then he runs into like your group of stormtroopers, like, oh, all right, and then just turns around and starts running away from that.
Right. It's about the characters and it's about the situation they're in, like what you're saying. It's not just cracking jokes to crack jokes. It's not like sometimes.
Hey, detention block. Is everything all right up there? I'm good. How are you? Like just stupid stuff.
Right. And like Marvel, Marvel makes
totally
jokes.
Butchered that quote, by the way.
Marvel in the superhero movies, they make jokes, but it gets a little corny because I think in some senses Marvel's making fun of itself because they think it's kind of silly. They're in capes and they're flying around, and so they kind of make fun of themselves.
How it's written and for the
works for Marvel. 100% works for Marvel.
All the Guardians of the Galaxy 2, their jokes seem super forced and drove me nuts.
Yes. But I think it works for Marvel, but that kind of stuff doesn't work in Star Wars. I think Star Wars takes itself a little more seriously, you know.
A little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, a legendary movie. One of the best movies I've ever seen.
All right. Next on my list, drum roll. We got two things to choose from. Which one do you think it is?
Hold on. Next thing on your list, I'm trying to think of what hasn't been said so far. How many movies do you have left? 2 left? Oh, Clone Wars. Clone Wars is next for you. Yeah.
Yeah, 94%.
That's crazy, bro. That is crazy to me.
You're only on season 2, right?
No, I'm on season 4, bro. I'm halfway through.
Okay, keep going. You'll understand why. Especially when you get to Yoda's arc in, I think, season 6.
Okay. I actually am officially halfway through because the last 2 seasons are only like 10 or 12 episodes each. So
and not to mention the Mortis arc.
Which one was that?
I'm pretty sure that's season 3.
Oh yeah, you mean when the Chosen One, where Anakin goes to that planet? Oh yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, it's just a lot of the story, a lot of the lore, a lot of the Force stuff that they toss in there. You learn so much lore through the Clone Wars. Especially when you get to Yoda's arc later, it gets a little bit more deep into the Force. And like I know a lot of people complain about the midichlorians and Phantom Menace, that George Lucas
Who
made it all too
cares?
sciencey.
I don't even
Dave
think that's a
Filoni
problem.
actually, I don't think so either, but Dave Filoni kind of fixes it a little bit. And
Okay, that's a good point, and that's something real quick that I think is beautiful about Clone Wars is that Filoni doesn't run away from the criticisms for the prequels. He embraces it. There's a lot of
yeah,
political talk. There's a
oh
lot of
yeah,
political talk
the
in Clone
banking
Wars.
clans, all that stuff.
Right, and he embraces.
Padme
He
gets her own
embraces.
stories
Right, and
with
he
Jar Jar.
Jar Jar gets his own stories. Right.
He even gets a girlfriend later. Spoiler.
Awesome. I'm not watching it. You spoiled the whole thing. Never mind. I'm just kidding. But no, I mean, I think Filoni embraces, just like me. Like when I watched prequels and originals, like there was no difference between the trilogy. It was all Star Wars together. Filoni embraces everything. It's all
Mhm.
one story, right? So he embraces all of it together. I think that's something that's really cool about Clone Wars.
Mhm. Yeah, and a lot of fans can agree with Clone Wars. Like everybody loves Clone Wars. It's rated high among the Star Wars fan community.
Oh yeah. I will say I'm on season 4. I had it at an 82%. Not done with it yet, so it'll probably move up as I go on. But
and it made me like a character that I hated in the very beginning.
Who?
Ahsoka.
Okay. Whew, I thought you were gonna say Anakin. I was like, I hope you didn't hate Anakin. Maybe you disliked him.
No, I've always loved Anakin.
Oh, okay. Ooh, I thought you were saying okay.
Clone Wars just made him better.
Okay. For sure. I was like, okay, yeah, that's fair.
And so at top of my list, 95%.
Mhm.
Empire Strikes Back.
Nice. 100%. I'm a little like skeptical to even say this because when we started this, I wanted to just being completely honest, right?
Yeah.
And up to this point, I've kind of always had Empire Strikes Back like up there because I know I'll kind of like almost lose credibility if I have it lower. But I have Empire Strikes Back at it's at the bottom of the original trilogy for me.
Okay, that's fair.
It's just how I've always felt, right? But I'll let you. You can go ahead. Why is it at 95% for you?
The reason why I have it at that as my highest, I don't know. I just like it from start to finish. Like I think every scene is enjoyable. I have no complaints about it. I like it because most movies you see, it's like, okay, the good guys win. They always win, blah, blah, blah. This one, we come back from A New Hope and we see, okay, the rebels did a big blow against the Empire. And here you get to see that they're still strong. We actually get to see what we probably should have seen in The Last Jedi. The First Order coming down and striking back.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's where we get our name, Hoth.
Oh yeah.
The whole Hoth battle scene, Echo Base, loved all of that. Not to mention, we get to meet this crazy little green creature in a swamp. Not to mention we get a little more understanding. We get to see a little bit more depth with Luke, and we get to see the Force Ghost. That's when we just get to learn more about the Force in it.
Right.
Just everything about it is just well written. Dialogue's great. They show that Luke is not this farmer that just gets off of his farming stuff and just goes and becomes like this great hero. I mean, he does, but it shows that he's not like all powerful like we see some other characters.
Right.
Because he's training with Yoda, and they don't really depict it in the movies, but he's there for a few months.
Yeah. No. Right. People don't.
And
really
so
understand
that gets looked over a lot.
Yeah.
So Luke's there for a few months, and then he gets this vision of his friends, and Yoda's telling him, "Nope, only the dark side will pull you." Blah blah blah, all that stuff. You're not ready to face Vader. Blah, you're not. Basically, don't go. You're stupid. You're gonna die.
Yeah.
But against the wisdom of Yoda, he's like, "No, I've got to do this." And so we get to see him kind of struggle and make a choice. It's like, okay, I could stay here training, but I'm going to go do this. I'm not ready for it, but I'm going to do it anyways. So you get to see the courage of him while making a stupid mistake. Not to mention, everything to do at Bespin was pretty cool. Luke comes in, fights Vader, and
Luke comes in and fights Vader. That's like one of the biggest fights in all of Star Wars.
Yeah, like he doesn't just show up and okay, Luke's here, okay, pulls out the lightsaber, he's gonna win. because he's the
Right.
hero.
It's
Not
very
even
dramatic too. It's rightfully dramatic too.
Yeah, I mean, you go from 3 different rooms. Vader's destroying him every single time while holding back because Vader's like, God, I can't wait to tell you the news. I hope you
Right.
like it.
Right.
And it's not until Luke loses his hand, it's like, okay, where's that? What's going to. And cornered, we're like, no idea what Luke is going to do. Like, and then you got the iconic scene of, no, I am your father.
Hmm.
And then Luke freaking out, drops down, escapes, uses the Force to call it to Leia. Leia catches it. They get him in the ship and leave like this big cliffhanger. There's
Yeah.
like no conclusion to it. Vader's still there. Luke's injured. Han Solo's on his way to Jabba.
It's almost like the enemies win, the bad guys win. Well,
Yeah,
they do
it's
win.
something that you don't see too often in a film.
Right.
And
You see it in
it's a
Revenge of the
good,
Sith as well.
yeah, it's a really good middle film.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And
It's a great middle film because you were talking about the depth of each character. It expands on everybody's character, right?
yeah, and that's what I like about it because like a lot of people
Right.
nowadays, it's all about explosion, explosion, explosion.
Mm.
Like they can't sit there and say a movie's great based on the story alone anymore.
I don't think it's an understatement to say that Star Wars wouldn't be what it is today without this. This might be the most important Star Wars film ever.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've seen so many franchises where you have the original movie, then everything since then sucks. Every sequel from it sucks. But you were talking about the depth, and like, let's talk about Han Solo. Like, this is the prime of Han Solo. This is where Han Solo really shines. Like, he gets so much character development in this movie, and so does Vader. Vader gets character development in this movie too.
Not to mention the love story between Han and Leia. I think is probably one of the greatest love stories.
Right.
Because it's not your normal love story. It's like they're sitting there bantering. You know that they have feelings for each other, but they don't want to admit it.
Right. And they always stay inside their character too, because Leia says, "I love you." Han Solo says, "I know. That's all he needs to say."
Yeah, like honestly, like it's the development there. It's like you see it on screen, and you just know it's happening, and then it gets to that point, and it's like just cry about it. It's like it's beautiful. He didn't say I love you back, but he said I know, and Leia doesn't get all offended. She's like, oh, he didn't say I love you back. Blah blah blah. It's like she's like, oh, that's just Han being Han. He's not saying it, but I can see it in his eyes.
Right.
And this movie led into like a great another great video game or another great story, Shadows of the Empire, which I would like to see a remake or some development on that at some point.
I've never read any of that. I don't know really about much of that.
It's pretty dope.
Nice. I'll just comment of again, because I have it at an 89%. Here's what I have above Empire Strikes Back, which we've been over all of them. Return of the Jedi, A New Hope, Revenge of the Sith. And this is the one that's kind of crazy. I do have Mandalorian above Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
And okay, now before people get like all up in arms I'll probably lose some credibility. I don't even know if that's the right way to say it, but some people will be really mad that I have Empire Strikes Back at an 89% instead of a 99%. But
let them cry. It's your opinion.
Yeah, no, right. It's just how I feel, right? And I just personally, I've always thought that Return of the Jedi and A New Hope both have higher highs than Empire Strikes Back, right? I think I think the lightsaber battle in Return of the Jedi is better than the lightsaber battle in Empire Strikes Back. And for A New Hope, I've always loved A New Hope. I honestly just think A New Hope is better than Empire Strikes Back, almost in like every sense. But and
I know for me the original trilogy it was hard to rank because
it's such a consistent story. Right?
You get with the Echo 5, like over the years, like him and I discussed, we've always changed which one was our favorite from the originals. Used to be Return of the Jedi was my favorite for the longest time.
Exactly.
Then I read the novelization of A New Hope. I'm like, oh, A New Hope is my favorite.
Yeah.
Like it kept changing, and then it hasn't been until recently that I settled down on Empire.
That brings me perfectly to my next point. That's like so true. Every single time I rewatch the saga, everything changes. So I guarantee if we did this podcast idea again in a year from now or 2 years from now, everything would be different for me.
I agree.
Maybe not every single thing, but a lot of things would be changing because I don't know. They just change it all the time. But I'll say this:
maybe the sequels will age well like the prequels did.
Maybe I don't think so. but well, they might. There's actually a real possibility that they do. But for me personally, maybe not. But here's what I will say about Empire Strikes Back. Okay, the reason it was at 89% is because the last 2 times I watched it, not one time, but the last 2 times I watched it, the middle section of the movie dragged. It just dragged for me. And it wasn't like terrible because again, I have Empire. It's not like I have Empire Strikes Back at 60%, right? I have it at an 89%, almost a 90%. But yeah, bro, I was like, the middle portion of it for some reason, I found myself like a little bit like I almost went on my phone. I was like, oh, maybe because I've seen it so many times, but it dragged a
It
little.
could be
for
that too. I find myself like most of the times that I watch Star Wars now, it's usually with a group, and we're usually discussing it as we're watching it. We're not usually like all invested, like, oh, shut up right now, this scene's on, blah blah blah. It's like
Right.
we're just like just narrating, like discussing it as it's going on, just because it's fun.
Right, and that might be another reason why I have Phantom Menace a little higher because it's almost novel to me because I've seen it way less than Revenge of the Sith, way less than the original trilogy, and even Attack of the Clones.
Fair enough.
So it's still kind of new for me, but yeah, I still love Empire Strikes Back. It's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen, but I have a few things up higher than it. But yeah.
But definitely, really good discussion. Almost 3 hours, practically 3 hours.
Yeah, bro, long discussion, but it had to be done, bro. Legendary podcast.
Had to. So guys, that's gonna wrap it up for us. Please let us know what your rankings are down in the comments below. Hit us up on the hotspot. We'll do a ranking post so you guys can kind of see. We'll put up our rankings up on the hotspot so you can kind of see, and then we'll discuss with you guys. So guys, please be sure to like and comment. It helps people find us better when there's more activity, and please share with your friends. That also helps us. Be sure to check out the links in the description where you can find our Discord, where you can chat with other fans like yourselves and discuss the mysteries of the Star Wars universe. And you could probably even talk to them about your rankings and have some fun discussions there. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram where we continue to post updates and news. Also, if you guys are looking for some cool new shirts to show your love of Star Wars, check in our link below. We have a bunch of merch coming out, or already out, that you guys will like. So Echo 2 out.
Yep. Echo 3 out.
May the Force
be with you.
always.